All right, hey guys, welcome back to the DFM podcast. And on this podcast, I have Philip Magee with me. He's a producer, record and mix engineer, and actually a director at the collection society known as RAAP here in Ireland. So, Philip, if you want to give a fuller background on yourself, you can. You can be as brief or as detailed as you want. Don't worry how long you make it, it's fine. So, go ahead.
Well, thanks for having me, Dean. You did a good, concise obituary there of my life. Like most people in this industry, just a huge fan of music. Grew up playing guitar, wanting to be a rock god, listening to Tin Lizzy and Rory Gallagher, and kind of went down a slippery slope of wanting to know how to make records, wanting to be able to know how to work out what's coming out of these headphones. So that led me down the road of recording music and then becoming a music producer. And then from there, I was very lucky to record with, Kodaline, the script, and Miles Kane, and just lots of brilliant Irish artists, The Academic, Wild Youth. So I've had a really, really lucky career, and I'm loving it, and I'm still in it, and kind of looking at new talent every day, and then working with past clients as well, non-stop. And then I'm fascinated with the business side of the industry. As you say, I'm a director of RAAP. Look after performers' royalties, and I'm sitting on a board for AIM, the Association of Independent Music, and I do talks and I waffle around the country and whatever other countries take me to talk about the industry. So I've been kind of around 17 years professionally doing stuff. I know my little world well. Yeah. And any information I can dispel or hand over to anybody, I'm always very happy to do that and constantly learn, because it just evolves so much.
Yeah, that's one thing that I kind of found doing the business plan this year, that if you sort of pigeonhole yourself to one sort of field, where I did with media composition, I have fair enough, media composition is very broad, but once I went into sort of business side of things, you really see how fast moving the actual industry around you is. It can be kind of daunting at times, really.
It is daunting, and that's, I think, one of those wise kind of sayings is it always be the dumbest person in a room. I think that's okay. Ask the obvious question, don't pretend to know everything. That's what I do constantly in board meetings. Yeah. I'll ask the most ridiculous, stupid, basic question. And the same in college. I remember asking really stupid questions, and no doubt there's a few other people in the room who want to know that answer as well. Yeah. So I always think it's healthy to be stupid. Not stupid, but to be honest with yourself and what
exactly.
you're trying to learn, because things move fast, and sometimes if you don't have a good grasp of the fundamental elements that cause why it's moving fast, you're just going to be even more lost and away with the fairies.
Yeah, no, asking questions is kind of one thing that I've really never struggled with, because as I said, either there would be someone sort of there that would be either thinking of asking the same thing, or maybe are worried that they might look stupid asking, or even if it's trying to get someone onto this podcast, like my dad always sort of told me, well, the worst thing you can get is no. Like there's no harm in asking someone.
So what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just if you get no as the answer to one, you're like, when I question, so you just move on. Like you tried and that's it. Like that's
exactly.
Kind of the way I look at it.
Exactly.
Well, so first I kind of wanted to look at your sort of creative side of things, because I know, you are heavily involved in business, which I love to try to get people on that are involved in sort of the actual industry as well. So I'll kind of make that later on, but sort of creatively, like you've worked with, as I said, like a lot of big artists, like I was looking on your actual bio, like Samantha Mumba, Brian McFadden, a lot with Kodaline, and even one of my favorite bands actually would be The Script. So you've worked with a lot of artists that have high reputations around themselves. So like at this point, like with all your experience, would you be nervous at the point on a new project with these, or are you at to the point where you're like, I can walk into this sort of this confident, we just go at it? So
yeah, you don't think about the size of an artist. You put the same amount of energy and thought process and prep into a brand new artist or an established artist. At the end of the day, you're recording a bunch of songs and you're trying to do your best. So if you think too much about how big the artist is or how important this album will be to their career, you're not really being creative. You might do that later down the stage. You might think about that stuff, but at the early stages, you're just thinking purely creative. Like, how good are these batch of songs? How can we capture these? Are the choruses good? What's the lyric? Is it connecting? So you're just going straight down to fundamentals. You've really just thrown everything out the window, and you're going with your kind of gut feeling. And it's more the psychology of it, working with the artist, seeing, you're just trying to connect with the songwriters and the musicians. So it never matters how big or small the artist is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a batch of songs. It's fairly democratic in that stage. In the music world, you know,
Yeah.
when it gets released, that's where it's different. That's where bands have different budgets and different machines of their record labels. But when you're in the studio, there's no label, there's no management company. It's just you and the artist, you know, and you kind of see, how can we make this chorus fucking deadly, you know, or or how sad is this meant to be, or why? Tell me about the story. What happened to you? Why? What's going on with you? Are you okay? These lyrics are heavy, you know. So it's really lovely and creative, and that's what I love the most. That's where I'm at my complete ease.
Yeah, and do you find it to be very collaborative? So, like, as from a composing standpoint, say if you're working, if like as me, if I was working on a media project, there's a lot of you are there to fit the director's needs or the game developer's needs or whatever sort of needs there. And there can be collaboration, but it's really down to how much collaboration really the director or developer wants to actually put on you. But as a producer working with some of these acts, like you've heavily worked with Kodaline, is there a lot of collaboration there, or at first maybe when you first worked with them, was it really just help us and do what we're trying to get across, or is it actually was collaboration to start with?
I've always done the same thing. It's about capturing the music, and whatever way that you facilitate that you do. So what I mean by that is, some bands need help musically. You know, they might only know three chords, and the song's getting a bit boring, and they don't know how to get to the middle eight, or a vehicle for the pre-chorus to drive. And you'll help them musically there. You know, you'll say, "Why? Let's go to a D sharp minor 7. Let's elevate it up. Let's do this, and we'll write a little line here. And we need a really good standout top line melody, because you're not singing for 4 bars in the chorus. What do you think about this that I've come up with?" So you can be really, really creative and help. Then, like other bands, like say Kodaline, I don't ever need to help them with lyrics. They're damn good at writing lyrics as a band, you know. I'm happy to listen to those stories and try and help as much musically, and just to capture what's going on in the room. You know, that's you're trying to see, how can I get their message across to the listener. Because music is, that's the beauty of producing music. The whole reason why you're trying to capture it is for someone to feel the message from the writers and the band. And I always kind of equate it to like making movies. You know, if there's a beautiful dialogue between a man and a woman, and the man is saying how much he loves her, there's going to be a beautiful string line underneath it to kind of just tell you, this is really romantic, this is beautiful. In real life, you don't need that, because, you know, you're standing in front of him, there's a tangible connection. So you don't need that kind of, what would you call it, kind of extra kind of pick me up to kind of push it forward. And it's the same with producing music. You could put one microphone in a room and record a really good song, but it's not really going to tell a story. So that's where you're thinking about all the different tones and how you record the drums, how big, how small. Same with the vocals, how direct, how far back should they be, what's going to suit the mood. So that's a big part of it as well, just how to capture.
Yeah, no, that's one thing that sort of came to mind there when you were mentioning. Now, obviously, if you're being hired as a producer or a recording or a mixing engineer, whatever, that's work for hire. But you were saying there's some people actually might, now, because some producers or some people might struggle with this out, because I remember we had a few conversations about sort of contracts and where to stand with artists when it comes to sort of creating the song with them. Has that ever sort of came across where you're saying maybe a lot of people need extra help, and you're like, I actually maybe nearly deserve a songwriter's credit on this actual piece at this point?
Yeah, I think when you go in as a music producer, there's no doubt that you're going to change the song in some ways. You know, it could be melodically, it could be lyrically, or it could be arrangement wise. So you're kind of involved in the life of the song, no matter what you're doing. So you're kind of going in there with open eyes, and same with the band, to see how much we can get out of the song and how far we push it. So you're kind of there as a team, and you're not kind of thinking, oh, I have to come in and I have to write lyrics to make this song better. You're kind of going, how good is this song anyway? How can we make everything better? It might be perfect. Your job is just to hit the red button, you know. That could be your job. So it changes song by song. So there's never usually any issues. I've never had any issues. Sometimes you might have very, very bands who are new to it all, and if you suggest it the wrong way, that might be an issue. But I've never had that. My big thing is, I like to have a strong connection with the artist. I feel like we're a band of brothers and sisters, kind of, and it's a very safe environment for anyone to suggest anything. And but you're going to do what's best for the song. So as a producer, you're brought in there as that kind of external voice, because you might have 4 or 5 members in a group, and the drummer might be saying one thing, the singer saying the other, guitar saying the other thing, and they're going to kill each other. So they've hired your ears and your brain and your mind to kind of help them guide through that mess. And so that's where you kind of string it all together and make a kind of a cohesive room where people only kill each other when they need to, and not over everything. Because killing each other is kind of okay as well in the process.
Sometimes it can actually, the killing each other can be a productive part. It does sometimes actually gets like, it gets to the point where it actually needs to, it'll just get done. Like it get past the wish wash sort of part of it.
Like if a band always gets along and everything's really good and sweet in the studio, it's usually a bad record. you want them, there needs to be a bit of blood, sweat and tears. There needs to be a bit of argy-bargy. People are passionate about this. If everybody's like, yeah, that's great. It's like, there's something a bit kind of lukewarm about this.
Yeah.
You want people to be so passionate that they're going to fight over why they want that tambourine that loud, or why they want a kazoo solo. So there's something creative and passionate about that.
And now, when you started off in this sort of field, did you come in as sort of an assistant or an internship role within a studio, and then decided to go, because I know you're freelance now, so what sort of path did you take going towards before going freelance?
I'll sketch over. It was a long path, but I'll hop, skip and jump. So I was in school, and I quit school at my junior cert, and I went straight to college, into sound training college in Temple Bar, because I was teaching, or I was doing work experience in a summer school in the sound training college the summer of my junior cert. And I kind of went, God, I love this. And the heads of the college were like, well, you can come here in September if you really want, because they knew I hated school. So we sorted that out, and I went straight to college from junior cert. And I did 2 years there, which was phenomenal because I got to do so much recording. It was a very hands-on course. I also got, so to pay for college, I was helping lay out all the chairs in the morning for the lecturers. So they would give me and another chap free studio time, and I used to buy his studio time off him. So I used to get 2 overnight sessions a week where you'd work from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. and then go to college for 10 a.m. So I used to do two of them a week for the first solid year, and that's where I learned how to record and communicate and work with drunk musicians, and learn to work with nice musicians and rude musicians, and it was like a psychology course. And so that was a great foundation. And second year again, worked incredibly hard, assistant engineered for a lot of brilliant engineers. And then when college was over, I got a job in a studio. I was very lucky, like it was so fortunate. My mum saw an advert for a studio in Dublin, a brand new studio, and they were looking for a head engineer and a house engineer. And I went to the job interview, and there was around, I think, 60 or 70 people at it, and frightened the bejesus out of me, and kind of played in my show reel, had a chat with them, and I was completely fortunate and lucky. I got a job there in Chili Studios, was called at the time, and that was just phenomenal, because that's where we listed off some of the earlier credits like Samantha Mumba and stuff like that, and Sisqo, and a lot of pop music. And that's where I learned a lot of chops, in a sense of working really quick, really professional, delivering a product that can be played on radio, so I had to learn so quick to kind of go, why aren't these vocals sounding like Rihanna? Like what are they doing that I'm not? What do I need to do? Because I'm delivering for kind of a high enough caliber artist that need and deserve that. So in that studio, I learned quick, and there was no time either. It wasn't like you could spend days on it. Everything was on the clock. So, and there couldn't be any issues, technical issues. I just had to do it. So I'd spend nights there learning everything, how the studio worked. I was so, it was just way beyond me. I was just like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? But that was a baptism of fire. And then from there, that's where I met the script. That's before they were the script. They were a production team in America, Danny and Mark, and Glenn was a drummer in Dublin. So I met them through different projects, and that all came together lovely. And then Kodaline grew up in the same housing estate as myself, and I was the judge of a battle of the bands in their school when they had a different name, and I picked them as winners to come to the studio. And so that all happened really quickly. And then I met Aslan. So then I started just I was doing albums, and people were asking me to go to different studios. So I quit that studio after 2.5 years. So I went freelance after 2.5 years there. I went freelance because I was asked to go to Grouse Lodge and all these other studios and to the UK, and I was getting more work as a freelance and better wage because I was getting just a weekly wage in the
Yeah.
studio. And I was able to work with more exciting artists, where in the studio you were told you're working with this band Tuesday and that's it. I had no choice. Where I was dreamt of having just to pick who I'd like to work with, and that's what I've done ever since. I only work with things I really love, so I've been very fortunate.
Yeah, I think within sort of the music industry in the whole, whether it's creative or if it's on the business side, you have to, well, obviously you can work on stuff that just has to pay the bills, but you won't get
Yeah.
the actual satisfaction out of it until when you find something, yeah, like you said, that you enjoy. It's just, it's not, it doesn't feel like you're working anymore.
There's satisfaction, which is very important, but the other thing is the outcome of the project. If I
Mm-hmm.
was working on a style of music I didn't know an awful lot about, it's not going to turn out that well, possibly, you know. So it means I can really pick the things I love, the kind of writing I love, the kind of genre of music. So you're able to kind of handpick the projects that you know you can bring something to the table.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not just doing a job. It's not like they just want something recorded or produced. You know, you can bring something to the table to help this artist's career go forward. That's the big thing.
And as a sort of producer, is there any sort of, I'm sure, do you have a favorite genre that you enjoy working in the most? And is there a genre that you actually haven't worked in yet and you're like, you know, I'd actually like to dip my toes into that, sort of learn that and expand on it?
I'd love to do more jazz. I love jazz music.
Mm-hmm. I
And
play
I love,
saxophone myself, so I'm
I'll
well
tell you,
used to it. Yeah.
and I love lots of jazz. I listen to an awful lot of jazz, and you know, I love even like gypsy jazz, you know, Django Reinhardt, and I love just everything. I absolutely love jazz and blues. So I'd love to do a bit more of that. I love recording uh, emotional songs with big heart. You know,
Yeah.
like big choruses.
Mm-hmm.
I love big pop. I love big indie music. I grew up listening to folk music. Folk and hard rock is what I kind of grew up listening to. So in between there is where I fall. You know, in between folk and hard rock, I can land anywhere, and I'm quite
There's a
happy.
big gap in between that middle
Yeah,
section.
it's a lovely gap. It's not unusual, but I love that. But it's not. It's less about the genre and more about the artist you want to work with.
Yeah.
You know, it's that's who you're kind of buying into. You're buying into someone's belief system, their thought process, or you're just kind of thinking. You want to observe them. So that's what kind of gets me going more, and that's who I want to work with, is just different artists and bands. That's what I
Yeah.
get excited about.
And you were saying there sort of about jazz, and that when I had Jake Jackson on here, who he's worked with many different styles of music, but he'd work a lot with orchestral, so he'd be used to working with massive live band
Yeah.
of players. Is that what would change for you there? Because if you're working a lot of sort of either rock or pop, if suddenly working with jazz, you're then suddenly recording a lot of brass instruments or maybe woodwind instruments. It's like, would you get enjoyment out of it? Is there many different sort of recording techniques you like to sort of delve into and then work with different instruments, sort of?
Completely, yeah. It's, you kind of work backwards. It's about the end piece of art, the end product, and how you achieve that and what you want to get. So sometimes within a pop song, you want things to be very kind of stacked and kind of perfect and compartmentalized. And so everything has a space and not much integral connection in a room. How do I explain it? But like with jazz, yeah, I always want a sense that it sounds like those musicians are in the same room.
Yeah.
Always. I want to hear how that room reacts to their instrument the harder they
Yeah.
play. So that's integral. With pop music, that's not integral, you know, and that's okay. A lot of stuff is just drum machines plugged directly into a box, or a bass plugged directly into the desk, and vocals really close. But if you're listening to Dave Brubeck or something like that, you want to hear that piano's in the same room as the double bass and as the drums, and you want to get a sense of a spatial sense of where they all place.
Yeah.
So I'm most fascinated with that. So anytime I've recorded kind of blues or jazz, I would do 90% of it live. So that's where you're kind of dealing with acoustics, good mic technique, classic engineering, which I adore. So I would have done an album for a heavy blues rock band called Crow Black Chicken, and we went we went to the Cumber Mountains up in Waterford, and we were in a shack, a proper wooden shack, and ideal place for the blues. A little bit of electricity, plenty of mice, and we camped up there for like a week or two, and we did a live studio album. So it wasn't just a live album where you just hit record. There was a lot of thought got into it, but it was
Yeah.
recorded live. The vocals went down live with the guitars and the bass and the drums in the one room.
Mm.
No divisions put up between them, no shields put up. I was downstairs in this cabin and they were upstairs in this kind of attic in the cabin. And they were all really close and the whole place was shaking. The whole place was vibrating. And I was going to say it's a great album, not because of me, but because of them and the room. It's a really, every time I listen back to it every few years, I go, wow, such a buzz. You hear the energy has just been captured.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a beautiful thing.
I find out with jazz as well, like growing up sort of learning clarinet and saxophone, like my teacher he ran the Dublin Jazz Orchestra, so my teacher was Kieran Wilde, his name was, and he's an amazing sax player, an amazing clarinet. He's very good at doing both, but the sort of the feel that you get off that music being played live is, I feel, a completely different sense, especially when people are improvising and sort of just bouncing off each other. It's just unbelievable. And the treatment of different rooms has a real sort of big effect, I think, on that sort of genre of music as well.
It's huge because the genre, like, well, not the genre, but the instrument itself, saxophone within contemporary music, so say jazz and blues, it's probably most famous from its kind of late 40s and 50s era, you know, Coltrane and Parker and the lads, you know, but it has a romanticism in our ear for the way it sounds, and the reason why is because the way it was recorded, and a lot of reasons is to do with it's been recorded onto tape, old tape, and using kind of very old microphones, so it's very warm sounding. So that's why when we hear brass kind of from the 80s onwards, where it gets a bit slicker and glossier, it's not as nice to the ear sometimes, you know. So that's why it's really nice to have the high frequencies distorted and rounded off and really, really saturated. And you're just hearing the mellow mid frequencies pushing through, and that's the sound of a jazz sax to everybody. And then when you hear it on, if it's not produced the right way, it can be kind of cutting, you know. So that's where, and if it's too close, if the microphones are far too close, again, it just sounds very insular. Where when we listen back to like Coltrane songs, song, what was that album? Coltrane's Blues, that album, phenomenal album. But you can hear it. So he's got a microphone like this in front of his sax, but we're hearing around 60% of that microphone. The rest of the sax has been picked up on the drum kit because you record in the same room. So you're getting this lovely room sound developing, but still getting great definition. So that's why it's so important for stuff like jazz to be recorded all live together if you want that beautiful kind of harmonic sound to be captured, and the room sound.
Yeah, and even when you're mentioning sort of the sax, it feels to be like there's a strange instrument at times for people to capture correctly. Like within like even the composing world of sample libraries, there's like it's like loads and loads of people can record a string library. Now, fair enough, legatos might sound a bit weird at times. Some people do that better than others, but you can get a good sound in string library most of the time. There's very, very few good sounding sax libraries out there. There's a library called Swing by Project Sam, which is decent. And I think the Berlin has a good series saxophone as well in their new brass or big band section. But people struggle with it a lot.
Yeah, they're all shite. The problem is there's too much articulation to go into playing an instrument like that. You can have a bass guitar instrument library, far easier to do, because when you're playing bass, you kind of either play muted and soft, or you play with fingers and loud, and it's consistent. The articulation isn't that fine as much as we'd like to think it is. It isn't compared to a saxophone. How you play a phrase, the articulation can be so varied. So to program that in with one of those sampler softwares, you'd probably need to spend an hour on a 2-bar phrase to get every little articulation done to the right velocity. So then you just get a saxophone. Plus musicians. That's where I absolutely love working with musicians. I try and have as many musicians on a song as possible, even if it's a radio pop song where you think everything's programmed in the computer. The more musicians you have, the more life it's going to go into the song. It's the number one thing.
Yeah, and as a producer, would you try to sort of persuade that it'd be the same in a compositional sense to persuade a director to have a budget for live musicians? Would you try to persuade that as well? Like, just get a live player to do this line, it'll make a massive difference. Like
100%, yeah. Like all my projects have live musicians.
Mm.
Every project has live musicians. And I have gangs of different musicians who I love. I have my own little wrecking crew of drum, bass, and guitarists who I love going to and bringing them in on sessions. And I've got brass players I love. I've got a cellist I use on a lot of projects. So yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of musicians. It's just essential, because I don't know, when it's all programmed, and I can program it all up, I don't know, it feels a bit 2D. And
Yeah.
the other thing is, it's, if I say we're doing a song together that you wrote and you're going to sing and I'm doing all the instrumentation, I'm just one human with one brain, with one musical mind. So everything I program will be from my reference point.
Yeah.
But when you bring in a bassist, if you bring in, say, the likes of Connor King, great bassist, you bring him in, you tell him nothing. You just let him play and see what he does. And you go,
Yeah.
wow, would never have thought about doing that little thing there. Beautiful. Or you bring in the drummer and you go, oh, Jesus. So you're
Yeah.
bringing all these different musicians in, and you're kind of investing. You're not hiring a musician just for 2 hours for them just to play in a song. You're hiring them because of their mind, of their
Mm.
10 years or 5 years or 20 years as a performer and a musician. And you're using their mind to see what they're going to bring to the song. That's a
Yeah. Just the
brilliant
sort of
thing.
experience and collaboration. Let them
Yeah, like,
collaborate on the project with you and
let
see what
them,
they
like, they
bring to, like,
mightn't be writing melodies, but just even the feel they have,
yeah.
just whatever way they're doing it, you're just like, brilliant, we got it. That's amazing.
And
Pub.
then when it and then when it comes to sort of projects, or have you sort of found any certain, whether it be like a genre or a certain live instrument or a project that's kind of found challenging throughout your career? Does anyone sort of stick out to mind where you're when you first sort of came to, like, Jesus, actually got to be a bit of a tough one to work around, sort of, but you enjoy the challenge of it, like?
Yeah, like, albums are, it's like watching do you ever watch Grand Designs?
Yeah.
And there's Kevin McLeod, and you see the young couple, and they're like, yeah, so we bought a castle, and we've got €200, and we've got 6 months because I have to be back to work, and she's pregnant. It's going to be perfect. And then, like, 3 weeks later, yeah, there's no roof. And, we're living in a tent, and it's December, and it's snowing for 4 months. So sometimes you, no, it's never as bad as that. But what I mean by that is they're big projects. When you're undertaking
Yeah.
an album, it's a huge project. And as a music producer, you've got a few different hats on. You're almost like a movie director and a movie producer. You're looking after budgets. You're looking after the
Hmm.
creatives. You're looking after the whole project. You're looking after the diary. You're looking after everything. And then you're also communicating with the A&R team or the record label to make sure you deliver. And that's very challenging. You might have,
Yeah.
the band mightn't be ready, or there might be a hiccup in the studio. We might change our mind over different songs, but they still want the release date to be July 20th. It's already February, but the label needed for March to deliver to all their people. So it's a bit like, Jesus, I didn't get into this job for that. Yeah, I just want to make music.
Oh yeah, I just want to record and
I
make
just
it.
want to,
Yeah.
cry. So, but then that's what becomes very important in the job as well. And if you can juggle all those things together, because you're providing a professional service, you're being a
Hmm.
creative and you're being a professional. So if you're able to juggle all those elements together, that's where you're going to get kind of success, where you're able to bring it all to the table, because you can be a great creative. And if the rest of it is hopeless, it's just going to be a nightmare for everybody else involved. Everybody else has a job in the cog, or
Yeah.
the all cogs in the wheel. So yeah, so some projects can become a little fractious, where delays or label
Yeah.
want stuff early and so on like that. But usually it all flows really well. I do an awful lot of pre-production,
Yeah.
so we always know what we're doing, and it's fairly free flowing as well. Everything's not very restricted. We kind of have, generally, we know what we're going to be doing over a space of a month or a few weeks.
Yeah. Do you think that's something that people would kind of forget if they're going into to say just to be a music producer? Do you think they forget there's actually that much of the business involved, and they do sort of get into their head, oh well, I'm going to record and produce tracks, and they forget how many hats they sort of have to wear, and then it just overwhelms them to an extent.
Well, I wouldn't say they forget. They're just not told. you know,
Yeah.
I think so. There's no blame on them, but like, even when I was in college, I don't think someone sat down and went, now listen, someone's going to say to you and say there's €150,000 budget in this album, but 50,000 is going on food, and this is going on accommodation, and you need to deliver by this date. And if you don't do that, we're going to miss Radio One's playlist for New Year, New Music, and you're going to ruin the whole campaign. And that means the live crew won't have any gigs for the summer. You go, no one tells you that, but that's
Yeah.
the truth. If you don't deliver and they don't have their summer season, that's a whole team of people out of work. Like
Yeah.
it comes down to that with some of the artists you work with. So, but then you also know that this album needs to be phenomenal. Like, it needs to be the best representation of this band, and you'll do whatever it
Hmm.
takes. But if you can pull it all together, it's a tough one, but it's you have to do it.
And would that be more of the case with only working with smaller acts that the producer would take on that much task, where they would actually have sort of if it's a bigger act, they would have like a team around them to sort of maybe help along the way, or does the producer just take on that much work in general? Like,
It's different strokes for different folks. But I think in general, that's what you just take on as a producer. Like, you wouldn't have a team. Like, say you're doing an album and they're a signed artist, that you'd be speaking a lot to the A&R
yeah,
person. The A&R person might be doing song selection with the band, or they mightn't be, or the band are coming to the producer going, "We hate the songs the label wants. We want to do these songs," and A&R's going, "Oh, the artists don't get it," and you're kind of listening to both of them, and you're like, I'm going with the artist, the kind of way, and I'm going to try and use smoke and mirrors and explain it to the A&R team, or you might give them one of their songs, and we do the rest of the ones we want. And so
yeah,
you got that, then you get to the studio, and you're kind of like you're like almost like a barrier. You're like a protector of the artist as well, and looking after them, and you're also looking after the label as well, because it needs for the artist to continue on their career, it needs to sell as
so
well.
yeah,
So you're taking a good chunk from both sides and kind of weighing up what needs to happen. So
yeah,
it can be high pressure, but good pressure.
yeah. Well, then, sort of moving on into the business side of things, that's kind of a nice little sort of segue into it. So you're on the board of directors for RAAP. So just for
Yes.
anyone basically listening, if you want to sort of give a description of basically what RAAP is, how it sort of came about, and what it basically does, because obviously collection societies are a huge thing in today's sort of music industry and how important they
Mm.
are, really.
Yeah. So RAAP, or AAP. Um, it's a performers collection society. So basically, we pay out royalties to musicians who play on recordings when those recordings are broadcast mainly on radio. So say you're a guitarist in a band and you play on a song, and the song's played on 2FM, you'll receive a royalty from us paid out. So it's different. So we're like IMRO look after
Mm-hmm.
songwriters and publishers, and RAAP look after performers. So it's as simple as that. Like, it's really important for all Irish musicians to join their societies, because it's their money. Some
Yeah.
people say it's free money. It's not free money. It's your money. You've worked for this. Like, collect your bloody money.
Mm-hmm.
So join whatever societies you want. In Ireland, we've got IMRO for songwriters. We have RAAP for performers. The thing that's I was kind of like, it can get a bit with publishing and songwriters. There can be trouble.
Yeah.
Someone wants 20%, someone wants 50%, another person wants this, and it can be a bit of a war. With performers royalties with RAAP, it's a little different. Where if you're the featured artist, so say the two of us have a band called whatever, Pink Flamingo. The two of us are the featured artists, so Dean and Phil will get 50-50,
Yeah.
and you can't ask for more. And like the way it's set up. But then if we bring in Sinead to play violin, she's not a featured artist. She's not part of the band. She's non-featured. She'll still get paid, but not as big as the featured artist.
Yeah.
So it's kind of well set up that there's not squabbles, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it works. So, and it's done by it's paid out mainly from radio broadcasts, through the license fee that shops and barbershops
Mm-hmm.
and restaurants have to collect for PPI and IMRO, and we receive a portion of the record labels pull back from that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great organization.
And then how did you sort of come about getting them? Were you involved from the start, or then what would your involvement be now, sort of? In it?
I've always been kind of educating musicians in the studio, because in the studio you're there 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, talking about stuff, and I'm always
Yeah.
making sure that they're protected and that they're getting everything that's due to them, because you'll be recording bands and their van is broken down and it hasn't passed the NCT, and money's never money's not never great in the music industry for young, or not even young artists, but kind of musicians starting off who aren't signed. It's a tough industry. It's very, very tough.
Yeah.
You kind of have to get whatever is due to you and not just let it fall away. And I've always been a member of RAAP and IMRO. And so I've always tried to pass on the education.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been a fan of rap just because I deal with session musicians all the time and performers,
Yeah.
and it's anyone who plays on a record is entitled to it. They're just entitled to it. The band don't need to tell them. No one needs to tell them. They're entitled to get paid for any song they play on as a performance royalty if it's broadcast. So I remember seeing, as being a member of RAAP, I would have got notification that there was elections coming up for a new director. Any member can put their name forward. I went, I'll put my name forward because I'm always banging on about things. I'm a grumpy old fella. I'm always giving out about equality and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
why aren't we getting enough money from YouTube
Oh Jesus.
and everybody? So
Yeah.
I'm always kind of causing a bit of trouble. So I put my name forward, and I got it was for two directors to get nominated, or two directors to be elected, and it was myself and Roisin O from Tanks Brother, and the two of us joined the board maybe I'm going to say 3 years ago. But I think it's then. So yeah, it's been great,
Yeah, I think the point you made there, passing on education, that was one thing that was taught to me this year by Aaron Casey, my publishing lecturer, who's like he'd say that a lot. He's like just teaching other people what he's learned along the way, and then if he can teach someone, then to give that to someone to teach on to someone else is. Because as I said, like it's constantly changing. It's important for people new to come in to learn wherever they can, as fast as they can, so they do get what they're sort of deserved. Like
and not hold back education, because
yeah,
Aaron's phenomenal. Me and Aaron talk an awful lot.
yeah,
We
he's
share
a smart man. He is.
He's a great guy. We share information all the time. I'll ring him going, did you know about this? And he's like, no. Or he'll ring me, go, do you hear about, like, even last week we're talking about different publishers who are coming to Ireland,
Yeah.
and kind of just educating each other and just looking out, see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a great guy.
I'm hoping to have him on at some point.
Hopefully
Down the line. I said it to him. But going outside of Ireland, is there rap organisations within other countries, like basic all like does like IMRO, is there collection size for performers in every country globally basically?
Pretty much, yeah. There is. So like in the UK, the equivalent to IMRO will be PRS.
PRS, yeah.
The equivalent to RAP is PPL. So that's their equivalent over there. You have, even in America, you got Sound Exchange will be the for performers, and then ASCAP will be for songwriters. So, and we all have agreements with all the countries, and so it's a big industry. It's a big job, and it's very hazy trying to get as much clarity. So that's why I love kind of talking about it and getting people to join their societies.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was asking, because people always say if a composer gets into TV music, which TV royalties can take ages to sort of come in, like, or if you get into production libraries, people say, oh yeah, you need to wait nearly around 2 to 3 years to start seeing your royalties starting to trickle in.
Yeah.
And would that be the same with performance collection societies, that obviously they're all sort of together, are they all interlinked where they're trying to collect off each other in different territories and all trickle down, or is it a bit faster?
No, you're always looking. I don't know the details, so I don't do the admin side of it, but roughly, I always feel it's around 12 months before you see anything. But it all depends on the organization where it's been pulled in from. Say one of your compositions is played on a German TV show. It depends how quick the German society pay the Irish society before they hand it out. So you'll have payout regimes. So like, say with RAAP, I think we pay out our main kind of national stuff played on Irish radio and Irish broadcasts in June, and then international in December. But if you earn more than that, you might get paid monthly if you're one of the big hit band. But it all depends on how quick that society gets it to us, all that, because there's a lot of data. Like, it's unbelievable. And then the amount of kind of cross-referencing, and then also you have to remember your song might get played in German radio, but when the German radio station play your song, someone might have put in your details incorrect. They might have put in the name of the artist with the wrong letters and one mistaken letter, or named the song slightly different. So when that information comes back, that has to be manually gone through. So, for instance, if you're the Beatles, someone might spell it Beatles, and have Hard Days Tomorrow, and you go, oh, that has to be Hard Days Night. That has to be the Beatles, and someone has to manually map it and go, Jesus, they played that song 20 times with that same mistake. And so there's a lot of manual work to go through with it as well. So yeah, roughly 12 months,
Yeah, so as you're
But
saying,
then,
a lot of that admin work would work the same way as publishers would, basically, as well, other collectors
oh,
like Imro and PRS and ASCAP Meeting would
oh,
work.
it's the exact same.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work, and also then you see certain societies might do their own audits or find out they had
Mm-hmm.
bad data, or they might have got extra money from somewhere, and then you might get paid for, like, I'll see in my own statements as a performer and a writer, you'll see stuff from 2015 coming through, and you're like, what? How did that happen? You know? So someone obviously did a miscalculation or something happened. And then also, if someone else gets a share of the song, like if a new performer comes into a song that you would have been playing on for the last 5 years getting royalties, they have to reduce what you get now to claw back that money that's been spent out. So they might give you deductions for your next kind of payouts.
Yeah.
So the other member kind of gets back up to level ground. So it's a bit of a nightmare mathematically looking at it,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, that's how it works.
And then sort of your involvement within the live, obviously being a producer is fine. COVID hasn't fully affected that too much, but getting actually people into shooting, and then obviously from a rap point of view, even actually having live players performing, how much that sort of taking the impact sort of everything with COVID at the minute? Like?
It's been so tough in the industry as a whole. Like, the recording industry, like the live industry has been hit first,
Yeah.
and last, but it's still a spiraling kind of effect on everybody. Like, because when I work with independent artists, they pay me through what they make from gigs, the
Yeah.
kind of way. So that's the ecosystem. The ecosystem is the live industry. So independent band does UK tour, make some money, use that money to go record, go buy merch, do whatever they need to do, pay for vinyl manufacture. So because a band can't tour now with COVID, even if they're able to make music, they're not manufacturing it. They're not. They can't work to the same level. They have no way of paying their bills without it. So the whole ecosystem has been hurt by it. So, and then we don't look after live performance. So it's literally just we only pay out royalties for recording performance. So if I record a guitar on a record and that record gets broadcast, where IMRO, that's where it gets a little hazy. IMRO pay out performers for performances of the song you've written. So if you wrote a song called "I Love My Dog," and then I went and played that in my local venue, I'd registered. I played "I Love My Dog," and that's a live performance of a written song.
Yeah.
Where we look after the performances of recorded music. Oh, sounds so complicated. It's not though.
But this is the thing, though. This is why people need, when they're getting involved in the industry, they need to look into this type of stuff to see where exactly they fall under, what they're owed, because otherwise you could be sitting on a couple of hundred, you could be sitting on a couple of thousand. You never know what's just sitting there they are owed, or you just never find. There's a tiny few little technical difficulties there, so you see it cut in the video, that's why. But yeah, Philip, you're just saying about registering with RAAP Reader Imro and how people have basically sort of sometimes gone hundreds or thousands without actually realizing what's there for them to collect sort of in the first place, really.
Yeah, it's just, just to reiterate, it's just so important to get what's yours. As I said, it's not free money, it's your money. It's your creative work being broadcast or being consumed or being performed somewhere. So please register whatever society you need to register with. In Ireland, our national societies are IMRO for songwriters and RAAP for recorded performers. There's also other great organizations to look at as well within the country. You have FMC, First Music Contact, which is a great resource for musicians looking for advice with Angela Dorgan and co there. You've got IASCA, which is the Association for Songwriters, I'm probably
AIM in the
other
UK,
ones.
like you were saying, they were talking about.
Well, yeah, there's AIM Ireland now as well.
AIM Ireland as well, yeah.
Which AIM Ireland we're still setting up, which is the Association of Independent Music, which is for the music sector. So it's not for musicians. It's for the sound engineers, the lighting engineers. It's for the producers, like the venues. So it's a sectoral kind of organization.
I think that's worth being involved in, though. Even if like someone's listening to this and they see themselves as a creative, it's worth being involved. Or just even, you don't have to get fully involved, but just understand sort of the industry and sort of what's going on around you, because even within making connections, it can play a massive role as making connections.
Connections is huge. Like it's an ecosystem. It's a small ecosystem, and the more involved you are in it, the better for yourself and everybody else. You're going to learn from one another. You're going to get work from one another. You're going to see the pitfalls from one another. you still do what you want. No one's going to tell you what to do, but you can see, like, from what's happening around you, how to navigate and steer your own career. So it's so good to communicate and connect with other people in the industry.
Yeah, like this year, like I went to my first conference this year before COVID, which was Output, obviously up in Belfast, and I had Mark on my last podcast. Was it? Yeah, Mark was on the last podcast actually. But like that was my first sort of industry conference, and it was great. Like it was unbelievable.
Really
like I was shocked at the amount, like the standard of speakers that he has at that, and how fast paced it is. So it's literally no breaks.
Did you come see me speak? Did you come see me speak?
I actually did. I seen you around the place, but I actually missed your talk. I did see you around, but I missed the talk. I can't remember what I was during it, but I was basically asked for anything either.
You were washing your hair. That's what you. I think you were washing your hair.
I was trying to get a bit of food because there's no second to breathe at that place. There's not. You just go.
Output was brilliant. It's and you know what? It's a shame to say. I live in Dublin. Well, I live in Meath now. I'm even closer to Belfast. I used to go there quite a lot when I was younger, but I haven't been there in a number of years. It's such a great city.
I think I'm going to try to go to that every year now after that first one. It's amazing.
And I used to work in Belfast. I worked in the Falls Road for a summer, teaching kind of a songwriting camp with the youth, and it was a mad time, and it was like a good long time ago. But that part of Belfast where Output is on was not a cool place. It wasn't as vibrant as it is now, and I just fell in love with it. It's stunning, absolutely stunning.
Yeah, but no, like going to that's what kind of made me realize, but now in fairness, Output actually isn't too bad for creative because you have a lot of creative panels as well. It isn't just all business related, but it's just the people that can meet. Just even generally just walking up and like I could talk to a brick wall. Like I have no problem talking to anyone, so that doesn't sort of faze me just walking up talking to people. But the standard of people within the industry that you can literally just walk up and talk to at these type of conferences is ridiculous. Like.
But you know what? That's the industry as a whole. No matter where you are in the world, people are happy to talk. Let them be the head of Sony Records to a runner in a studio. People love their industry and they love music, and they're really happy to. Sorry, I'm off mic. And they're really happy to chat, shoot the breeze, share experience, connect. I don't think I've met anyone who doesn't want to just have a chat and see what's going on.
Yeah,
so,
and I think it's like within the music industry in particular, because a lot of the time, if you work within the industry in any sort of part, most of the time your family members or friends don't tend to be involved in the industry. So as soon as you get that chance to actually go and talk to people that understand what you're talking about, people just waffle.
You know
for
what
ages.
I'm on about. Yeah. That's what. Yeah, there is that kinship of speaking a similar language. It always bonds people together.
Yeah, that's basically kind of what I found. But before I let you go, I'll just let you sort of basically, if you have anything sort of to promote really before you go, if you have any albums that you're producing, any tracks or anything for people to look out for, anything like that, I'll link any like profiles for you in the video for this. But
I've done that before and I get in huge trouble because I'll leave someone out and they'll be like, "Hold, I have a single coming out tomorrow that you produce. Why didn't you mention it?" So I'm very lucky. I'm working on numerous projects at the moment. I'm working on quite a lot. So it's just lots of stuff going on, but I'm happy to chat to anybody. And who here's a bigger question, like, so with the podcast, who have your kind of core audience? Is it people starting off in the industry or kind of a wide?
That's what I haven't really figured it out yet. For all I know, it could be my family and friends and no music people at all at the minute. But it goes up on a lot of Facebook groups. I get out to a few different business pages, then composer pages, and I've had a few people sort of reach back, mainly sort of creative so far, reach back and saying they've enjoyed it. But then the rest could be
but that's what I love about podcasts. I love podcasts, and I love listening to subjects I don't know anything about, and it could be in detail. So there's but so I've nothing to really plug, let's say, but just I'm kind of just hoping for the music industry that it'll be a much more balanced and fair ecosystem due to what's going on with COVID-19, and because hopefully it's a reshake, and I think people are questioning now about streaming, equality, and how the whole ecosystem works. That it's not just good enough that they're only earning money from the live circuit; that they should be earning more money from their royalties, from their mechanical rights. So I think that's my last kind of blurb.
I think at some point, if you're willing, I'll get you back on to go into a deep sort of where we just have a random chat about any sort of industry style topic, because you could do a good hour talk alone on streaming royalties and what they might
Yeah, and
bring and how they could be improved. And
I might just get people just to look at hashtag broken record. That's where there's a lot of information going on about streaming at the moment, and it's mainly being pushed by the UK by like loads of good people. But yeah, hashtag broken record is a good place to educate yourself on what's going on with streaming and hopefully how we can fix it.
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. There you
Right.
have it. On that high point.
Well, I hope anyone who's listened to this has enjoyed this podcast. I know I learned a lot from it. I hope anyone else who's listening has as well. Any links to sort of Philip's profiles will be in the description of this video. Feel free to check him out on any of the work he's done over the years. And I'll see you on the next podcast.